These are some of the healthiest vegetables to unclog arteries and heal the body. Now, at the end of this, I'm going to talk to you a bit about why clogged arteries is perhaps not the most accurate terms, but let's kick off with number one. Sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is a source of probiotics, and actually a meta-analysis of clinical trials have found that probiotic supplementation has significantly reduced total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol levels in patients with high cholesterol. Now, the reason why sauerkraut may be beneficial is because it is a great source of probiotics, as well as different types of probiotics. And actually, there are studies that have shown a greater impact on total cholesterol as observed in subgroups with multiple strains rather than just single strains of probiotics, suggesting that there is a synergistic relationship between different probiotic strains. So you want to be trying to get as much variety in probiotics in your diet as possible. So sauerkraut may be one of those, but you can also get it from things like kefir and kimchi. Anything that's going to add live probiotics into your diet is going to be beneficial. We also know that adding probiotics to your diet increases the diversity of your microbes in your gut as well. The main source of that is going to be fibers, but probiotics can certainly help. And the reason why I'm such a big fan of probiotic vegetables is because they're giving you both the live microbes and the fiber that helps them thrive as well. They feed off each other. This is very much a combined effort between probiotics and the food. The prebiotic foods in this case is cabbage. There is a bit of controversy surrounding the mechanisms of the cholesterol-lowering effect of probiotics, but some of the mechanisms that have been proposed include the synthesis of bile acids in the liver and the increased bile salt hydrolase activity, which assimilates cholesterol, and it increases the antioxidant activities of probiotics as well. It also assists in the production of short-chain fatty acids as well. So these are specific things that may be beneficial. And if you look at this diagram here, you'll see that probiotics, yes, they are important, but dietary fiber is another way in which to increase the short-chain fatty acid production, the bile acid production, and reducing something called TMAO. This is something that can be raised by high amounts of saturated fat in the diet and red meat, specifically fatty cuts of red meat in the diet as well. So these all tip the balance in favor of less scarring, less inflammation in your arteries, particularly the coronaries, that may help with cardiovascular disease as well. The second ingredient is onions and other allium vegetables like garlic, shallots, leeks. High intakes of allium vegetables are associated with lower atherosclerosis mortality after 15 years of follow-up. Actually, the hazard ratio was shown to be 0.85 for every 5 grams per day increase in allium vegetable intake, which is pretty phenomenal. So, we've got so many different ways in which we can get onions into our diet. We put them in sofrito, we put them in curries, we put them in stews. I use onions so much in cooking. The third thing, yellow, orange, and red vegetables. These are veggies that are packed full of phytonutrients and particularly carotenoids. So sweet potatoes, carrots, pumpkins, tomatoes. There are a number of different studies that show that these in the diet can lower the risk of heart disease and cardiovascular disease mortality in hypertensive adults. There are 5 studies that reported this inverse association between intake of brightly colored yellow, orange, red vegetables and cardiovascular disease, coronary heart disease, and other types of heart disease as well. Findings have suggested that the highest serum level, so the high level of blood levels of carotenoids concentrated in the blood, are associated with lower risk of all-cause and cardiovascular disease mortality in hypertensive adults as well. So you got to get like colors in your diet. There's lots of reasons as to why those would be beneficial for you. And these carotenoids that you might have also heard of as lycopene or beta carotene, these are types of carotenoids. They directly reduce oxidative stress and they directly reduce inflammation. You're probably getting a very clear picture of heart disease being an inflammatory process. And this is what causes actually the furring up in arterial vessels. The inflammation created by a number of different factors, food being one of them, can be mitigated by certain nutrient-dense ingredients like carotenoids. So Think red, think yellow, think orange, think of getting all this beautiful collection of different foods that are widely available, and it can be from multiple different sources. Corn, carrots, sweet potato, pumpkin, squash. These are all wonderful things that you want to be getting into your diet every single day. I try not for at least 1 to 2 servings, but trying to get at least 3 to 4 every week is something to aim for if you aren't already doing that already. Just a quick one. If you're enjoying this kind of content, you will love our free newsletter called Eat, Listen, Read. Every week, I send you a recipe that you'll absolutely love, something to listen to, something to read, sometimes something to watch, less than 3 minutes, and it will help you have a healthful, happier week. You can find that in the link down below. Fourth thing, broccoli and other dark green leafy vegetables. Brassicas in particular, things like cabbage, kale, cauliflower, these are wonderful ingredients in and of themselves, even if it wasn't just for cardiovascular disease, over general health and well-being goals, you want to be trying to get these kind of greens into your diet every single day. There's a cross-sectional study of over 600 elderly women that found that those with a higher intake of cruciferous vegetables, which is around 50 grams per day, was associated with 46% low odds of having extensive abdominal aortic calcification. So that is plaque buildup in the main vessel in the center of your body that goes through past the abdomen and bifurcates, separates into large vessels that go and perfuse the rest of your limbs as well. So this is, and that can lead to cardiovascular disease as well, compared to lower intakes of less than 15 grams per day. So you want to be trying to get as much of these ingredients into your diet as much as possible. The authors of this particular study suggest that a higher intake of cruciferous vegetables can protect against vascular calcification. Try and get these in as much as possible. Why might greens, in particular cruciferous vegetables, have this effect? Well, they're a great source of vitamin K. Vitamin K is very important when it comes to calcium regulation in your body. So calcium can get built up, and if you don't have enough vitamin K, particularly vitamin K2, also known as MK7, then it can lead to deposition, to deposits of calcium in areas that you don't want them, like coronary arteries and like other areas where you have a lot of blood flow as well. So vitamin K is very important for calcium regulation and making sure it goes to the right places. And greens, particularly broccoli and all those other cruciferous vegetables, are great sources of that as well. In addition, they have things like glucosinolates, isothiocyanates. These are types of chemicals, phytochemicals, so plant chemicals that have direct anti-inflammatory actions as well. So they have a protective mechanism in reducing oxidative stress and reducing inflammation, which by now you'll know is directly related to cardiovascular disease. You want to be trying to get at least greens in every single day. I try and have greens on the side of every meal if possible, greens at every meal time. And they are definitely one of my BBGs, one of the things that you want to get in every single day. Beans, berries, greens, seeds. There's lots of reasons to get those 4 things into your diet every day. This is just one of them. The 5th ingredient is spinach and other potassium-rich foods, which do come in various shapes and sizes. More greens, dark leafy greens like Cavolo Nero or even Swiss chard, they all have potassium as well as magnesium in. And we know that higher intakes of potassium through food, not just through supplementation, but higher intakes specifically of potassium-rich foods are associated with a decreased risk of stroke and other cardiovascular diseases as well. There was a meta-analysis of 9 cohort studies reported a significant 24% lower risk of stroke with higher potassium intakes. What may be even more important than just the potassium itself is its relationship to sodium in the diet. So the sodium to potassium ratio has been shown to be important when it comes to the risk of dying of a heart attack. People with the highest ratio of sodium, so high amounts of sodium, essentially salt, to potassium in their diets had double the risk of dying of a heart attack than people with the lowest ratio. So if you're having, first of all, you want to be reducing the amount of sodium that you're particularly getting from fast food, ultra-processed food. That's generally where we get the most sodium in our diet from. But even if you're having a high amount of sodium from salts or whatever you're actually adding to your food, there is a potential for you, as long as you have a high amount of potassium in your diet from foods like dark green leafy vegetables, there is that potential that that relationship, i.e. that ratio being harmonized, that can reduce the likelihood of you having a heart attack as well. So just remember, greens in your diet leads to reduced calcification of your vessels, reduce stiffness of your vessels that can lower the risk of cardiovascular disease. So those are my 5 foods that you want to be trying to get into your diet every single day. As a reminder, so this idea of clogged arteries, I think, smacks of an older idea that we had of what leads to atherosclerosis, which is essentially the inflammation within the artery cell walls themselves. So if you think about the artery within the walls, if the walls are thickened and scarred, that's what leads to a narrowing of your artery. And so this idea of clogged arteries, and the analogy of it being a plumbing issue where fatty substances get stuck into the side, it's not as accurate as it really should be. It's a bit of a misnomer. What happens is you get deposition of the substances like LDL cholesterol, for example, which is a carrier molecule for cholesterol that lodges into the artery cell wall itself, leads to inflammation, and that's what causes the narrowing. So it's not a fatty substance that just goes onto the side of the wall. It's actually something that goes into the wall, creates the inflammation. That leads to plaque buildup inside of the artery wall that leads to narrowing, that can lead to a heart attack. So when you hear the term foods to unclog your arteries, it's not exactly true. It's more that we're introducing foods into your diet that can lower inflammation, that can actually improve the likelihood of you ever having cardiovascular disease at all. When it comes to reversing clogged arteries, that hasn't technically been shown in any studies, not more recent studies anyway, but anything that mitigates against the inflammation process stands to reason that it will improve your chances of not having heart disease in the future. The good news is, if you don't have cardiovascular disease today, what you eat now can prevent or delay the buildup by lowering inflammation and lowering your cholesterol levels as well. So trying to get those specific vegetables into your diet. Listen to the podcast that I've done on cholesterol levels and why cholesterol is so important, and modify your diet to have as many different plant-based ingredients as much as possible. That's how you're going to stave off cardiovascular disease. The good news is, if you don't have pre-existing cardiovascular disease, what you eat now, what you eat in the future, can prevent inflammation in the walls, prevent the buildup of cholesterol levels in your bloodstream that can lower the risk of you ever having any issue like a heart attack or blood pressure in the future as well. So focus your diet around as many different vegetables, these kind of ingredients, and listen to other podcasts that I've done on cholesterol and why that's so important too. If you love that episode, you will love this one that I've done where I dive into olive oil. You're going to learn about the health benefits, what olive oil contains, and how to choose the best type of olive oil for healing properties.